Welcome back to the Chelsweets kitchen. Today I'm going to show you guys a quick tutorial on how to make a tiered cake. So I'm going to be making a 2-tiered cake, and I'm using here an 8-inch cake and a 6-inch cake that I've already assembled. So don't worry, I'm going to walk you guys through the steps that I've taken to make sure that I've prepared these in a way that we'll be able to stack them. So both of these are semi-naked cakes, and if you want to see a full tutorial on how to get this look, you can click on the link above. Next, I'm going to show you guys how I've assembled these, and then we're going to get to the stacking. I started by making the top tier first. Using a cake board cut to the size of your cake layers, poke a hole in the exact center, making sure that it's large enough for a dowel to fit through. I then added some buttercream to my cake base and assembled my cake just like normal. I made this cake using my favorite vanilla layer cake recipe and my classic American buttercream. Both recipes are up on Chelsweets.com, and the tutorials are also included on my Baking Basics playlist. Once the top tier was fully frosted and smoothed, I placed it into the fridge while I began to work on the base tier. Before I began assembling my bottom tier, I marked the center of my sturdy cake board using a ruler to be very precise. I then made a hole large enough for my dowel to fit through using some scissors. Next, I used some buttercream to secure my first cake layer in the very center of my base. I marked the layer and made sure that it was aligned with the hole that I had previously made. I created my bottom tier the exact same way I assembled my top tier. However, I assembled it on a very sturdy cake board. It's really important that your cake board is nice and strong so that it can support the weight of the cake once it's stacked. Once my layers were stacked, I made sure they were well aligned, and I then inserted my main dowel back into the center of the cake. I had marked the exact center of my top layer as well to ensure that the dowel went through into the hole that we had initially placed in the base. Next, I measured a dowel to be the exact height of my bottom tier and then trimmed it using some industrial scissors. I sanded the edge to make sure it's nice and smooth, and then repeated this process until I had 4 equal-sized dowels. The next step is to insert these dowels into the cake to support the weight of the second tier. It's incredibly important that all 4 dowels are the exact same height, or else your top tier will sit unevenly. I marked the top of the cake with the size of my second tier and inserted the dowels along the perimeter of where the second tier will sit. Next, I reinserted my main dowel into the center of my cake and then very carefully placed my second tier through the dowel. This is why it's so important that your center in your top tier is perfectly centered. It will ensure that your cake stacks nicely and is perfectly aligned. I chilled the cake overnight and then transported it to the venue while it was stacked. After a pretty stressful taxi ride, I made it to the venue with the cake in one piece. I decorated it once I got there using some fresh flowers that were being used at the event. I had to stack the cake ahead of time because I was taking a taxi, but if you're transporting the cake yourself, I highly recommend stacking the cake once you get to the venue. Thanks so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to click the like and subscribe buttons below.